Today, we're recapping the horror movie Into the Dark. Spoilers ahead. In this picture, Sophia Monet is tending to her devoutly religious father Peter, who is dying. This is how the film opens, with Sophia holding her dad's hand as he's on a life support machine, with his heart rate being monitored. A nurse tells Sophie that her dad will be fine in the afterlife, so she goes to talk to him about it. In his final moments on Earth, Peter confesses to his daughter that he was mistaken about his religious beliefs and that there is nothing but nothingness in the afterlife. While this is going on, she gives him a shave, but she doesn't get to finish shaving her dad as he suddenly dies. The day following his funeral, Sophia challenges God to refute her newly discovered opinion that there is nothing more to existence beyond death. She gives a long speech in which she says that God doesn't make any sense because God took both of her parents one after another, and they were suffering in spite of believing in God his whole lifetime. As she speaks, we see some family movies of her and her father, and she tells the congregation that the Bible is just children's stories, unless God can prove otherwise to her at some point. Then she freaks out and breaks the TV as a baby starts crying. We see an old man with a big beard and the stars as a comet flies past. Following the death of her parents, Sophia's male roommate Sam attempts to persuade her to become more socially involved, inviting her to go out and drink beers with some friends who show up, including one guy who wants to take her on a date, but Sophia rejects his efforts. Sam goes on the date instead, and Sophia works on her projects. She goes to see a doctor who tells her everything is normal, and she's going to live a long and healthy life. She's surprised as she believes she might be sick, but the doctor tells her she's just grieving her parents' deaths. The doctor tells her that she has a fear of heights and that she doesn't like a lack of control. He tells her to go out more often and hang out with friends. Sophia doesn't have any hope though, and she feels alone. A young man called Adam Hunt runs into Sophia while walking down the sidewalk. He knocks her on the ground. The two begin to flirt with one another and go for a walk together. Sophia spots a tour group outside the building where Adam resides, and she inquires about it. During the tour, he reveals that his building is rumored to be haunted. Cinema recap here. We've got a little challenge that'll take 5 seconds, and it will change your life forever. You ready? All you gotta do is like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and you'll receive 10 free years of good luck. It's as simple as that, and she agrees to accompany him on the paranormal tour as an amusement. Sophia says she doesn't believe in paranormal things, and that's Adam's motivation to bring her on the tour and try to provoke her fear, and they can laugh at the ghosts while they're there. Adam reveals he's afraid of missing the boat, and she says she's afraid of heights. On the tour, the guide says it was a hospital where hundreds of people died and saw many ghosts. The patients' belongings would go missing, and even the patients themselves would go missing also. Then workers would also disappear, and they were never found. They leave the main tour and head into another part of the building to take some photos. A security guard makes them jump. Next, we see she's been doing yoga, and we see a long yoga montage. Adam shows up to meet her after. Then he takes her up to the top of the building, even though she's afraid of heights. But while she's up there with him, it doesn't seem to bother her anymore. Sophia and Adam continue their relationship until she goes 2 weeks without phoning him for no apparent reason other than to mope over her situation. Sam, her roommate, is very impressed by her new boyfriend, but Sophia says she's not going to call Adam back. Adam keeps trying, but she's not bothering to even call him back. Her car radio gets stuck on an old-timey station. Then Adam jumps randomly into the car and asks more about her relationship. She hasn't called back in 2 weeks, and he tells her that's bad. Sophia awakens in the middle of the night with the terrifying sensation that someone is crushing their hands against her chest and choking them. With recent experiences of other unusual happenings in her life, Sophia phones Adam and decides to invite herself over to spend the night at his house for the sake of comfort. But his place is up on the 21st floor, which is not great for her fear of heights. For some reason, the building doesn't have any stairs, only an elevator. So she has to take the elevator all the way up. Sophia tells Adam about both her parents dying, and that's the reason she wasn't calling. She also says she's been noticing weird things after they took that tour, and Adam asks if she's opened herself up to something. Sophia meets Astrid Daniels, Adam's female roommate, when she enters the apartment. Astrid tells Sophia that Adam likes her. Sophia reminisces about the day before her father's burial, when she discovered a note from Peter's nurse in which the woman was implicated in an assisted suicide. She gets angry at the nurse for helping him to die, and it turns out he pretended to have cancer and got the nurse to kill him slowly. The nurse feels bad about it, but she says she wanted to make it easier on Sophia. However, Sophia says that suicide this way would put her father in hell, and she promises to tell everyone that God doesn't exist. Sophia injures herself on the glass of a framed photo of her parents that fractures in an unexplained fashion. She looks around the apartment for an intruder, but there's no one there. She finds a piece of glass stuck in her chest. Adam treats her wound. Her feelings for Adam are growing stronger. But Astrid gives a look that spells trouble. Adam and Sophia go through a montage where they dance, fool around, and have sex. Sophia wakes up in Adam's bed one night to find that he has vanished and that blood has been spilled in his place. She calls out for Adam, but there's no response. While following the blood trail into the elevator and up to the top floor of the building, she and Astrid try to call the police and report the crime. The police put her on hold though. Must be a lot of murders that evening. Finally, they get through to the cops. Astrid is afraid, but Sophia wants to investigate. They find blood on a door handle. They return to the flat because they're terrified by the weird atmosphere up there. When the police come, they discover that there is no blood in the place. The cops think the women are wasting their time and don't want to look for Adam as there's nothing suspicious going on there. Mr. Carter, the building manager, cautions the girls not to go to the top floor since spirits are believed to be trapped there, according to him. He reminds them people came to die there before, and he says he only went up there once in his life, and he's never going up there again. The woman thinks there's some vagrants living up there. Mr. Carter says no one will live more than 5 minutes up there. There's a woman who used to steal the patients away and take their stuff. The woman would put the patients out of their misery and basically perform assisted suicides on them. Then she has a flashback to the times she spent with Adam and promises to find him. Sophia and Astrid enlist the assistance of Sam and his girlfriend Penny in their search for Adam on the top floor. Sophia was hoping Sam would bring another guy along, but she has to make do with just him and the girl. They bring a bunch of equipment and set out to the top floor to look. The elevator starts to freak out and go up and down fast, lights flickering. They enter the first room and not much is going on in there. Penny gets scared and she wants to go home. The strange old music starts to play again. They find a gramophone and it stops. Then the music starts again and the door slams. Suddenly now Sam is scared too, and he tells them all to go. They hear a scream that sounds just like Adam. Something moves behind an old curtain. Penny gets freaked out and lost in all the curtains which seem to go on forever. Penny's injured when she falls through a floor and is knocked unconscious after all these bizarre happenings. Sam saves Penny by dragging her out of the hole. Then the curtains attack again and Sam leads the others out of the curtain room. Sam decides to look for the stairs and abandons Penny by the elevator while he searches for an alternate means of escape because there are no stairs to take. The group of pals separate. They hear some noises and then Astrid's flashlight fails. As Sophia asks Astrid if she knows where the fire escape is, she turns to point her flashlight at her. Behind Sophia, they see a dead patient zombie creeping up and they freak out. But not for long as something in the dark swoops down and knocks Sam into a hole. Astrid runs into a room, but the door shuts behind her and locks itself. The women struggle against the door, trying to bash it in. Astrid says she'll go look for another door, and now they are all separated. Sophia walks into an old ward, and there's an old person lying in one of the beds. The old man appears to Sophia in a vision, and he reveals to her why the suffering souls are caught between life and death. He says that she might not be able to see all the people who are trapped up there yet, but that she will. Then she looks around and suddenly there are lots of people in the beds. The old man says it's okay because they don't care about her and she can't help them anyway. He says they're crawling the walls in the empty spaces of the houses, and if you hear a whisper, then it's just one of them screaming. He says someone close to Sophia is dying, and she should let them go, and there's no way to bring them back. The old man says Adam is going to die, and it's better if he goes soon. Sophia finds it hard to believe, but the old man says she must believe if she wants to find Adam. He tells Sophia that if she wants to track down Adam, she'll have to join him. She heads back out into the corridor and sees a small man in a bowler hat. Then there's someone in a rocking chair. They stop rocking, and she goes closer and closer until suddenly there's a lot of noise in the darkness and she screams. Then she walks around a bit more and ends up on the roof. Astrid is there. After having a ghostly encounter, Astrid becomes possessed and begins to behave in weird ways. Astrid says the screaming wasn't her and says she hasn't seen anything. She tells Sophia to come with her. They get to a bathtub, and Astrid says they should rest and lie down for a while. Sophia lies down to take a nap and has a dream about being with Adam. In the dream, she loses a charm bracelet, and Adam reminds her that people's stuff goes missing in his building. Adam jokes about the crazy lady under the bed, and Sophia says she doesn't want to die and disappear into nothingness. Adam says he thinks maybe there is something after death, in fact. Sophia wakes up and finds Astrid is nude in the bath, bathing in hot water. Astrid says Sophia has been asleep for 15 minutes, and then Astrid says they should give up looking for Adam. Astrid tells Sophia Adam doesn't want her to find him. Astrid says she's just trying to be her friend, but Sophia leaves. Sophia comes onto a box containing some of her long-lost possessions. She has a flashback to her and Adam in the park, then in bed, and she has her charm bracelet. Then she understands that the ghosts were attempting to kidnap her rather than Adam. Astrid shows up and Sophia asks her to kill her by drowning. Astrid doesn't think this will work, but she agrees to drown Sophia and then perform CPR after to bring her back to life. They set a timer for 6 minutes. After 6 minutes, the CPR won't work and she'll be permanently dead. Astrid drowns Sophia in a struggle, and then Sophia's spirit appears behind her, and she carries on looking for Adam. Now she's in the afterlife, which looks the same as the previous life. First, she sees Penny and Sam. Sam leaves the body of Penny by the elevator, and she just dies there alone while they have left to go look for Adam. Sophia steals a flashlight from Penny's dead body and leaves her there. Then a guy with a beard who looks like a gnome leaps out and pushes her up against the wall, but she just steps out of his way. He begs her not to leave him there. Meanwhile, Astrid is sat on the bath with Sophia's body still in the water. She's rocking weirdly and humming. She doesn't seem to be paying attention to the 6-minute timer. Sophia's sitting down now in a locked room while someone rattles the door handle. She gets out and goes walking into another corridor. There's a ghostly figure at the end and some stairs. She runs and there are some noises, and she falls down, dropping the flashlight. Then a ton of gray zombies show up, but before they do anything, all the lights go on. Then the lights go off again. Astrid chills with the body some more, and then Sam appears out of nowhere. He wants to know what's going on. When he sees Sophia drowned in the bathtub, he takes her out of the water and asks how long she's been underwater. He starts performing CPR, but Astrid attacks him. Now there's only 2 minutes left before she actually dies. Astrid nearly strangles Sam to death, but then she changes her mind and lets him go. She falls on the floor. Sophia's still in the same room and hasn't made any progress. She looks left and right, but there's nothing there. Sam gets back onto giving CPR to Sophia, and we see the watch ticking down to 1 minute. He screams for help. Meanwhile, Sophia calls out for Adam, and she can also hear Sam calling her back. The lights in the afterlife flash on and off, and then Sophia gets upset and seems to give up, calling, "Where are you?" Just then, Adam appears from around the corner, and he has a bleeding head wound. Adam says he's already dead. He tells Sophia she still has time to make it back. She has cute flashback memories of them holding hands and chilling in the park. They roll in the grass together and gaze at the city skyline. He puts his arm around her and they smile and laugh together, perfectly happy the whole time. Then she cries and stares into space. All the while, Sam is pumping away at her chest, trying to bring her back to life. The timer runs out and Sam stops performing CPR now and instead cries for help. Sophia says no, and it looks like she's going to choose to stay with Adam and live in the terrifying afterlife place with him. Then Sam gives up and we see the sky. The sky changes to the sea, and we're at the beach. Adam's at the beach walking around looking kind of confused. He's standing in the shallow water. Then Sophia shows up and runs towards him. She tells Adam that they really came looking for her, and he says he knows that. She wants to know why Adam decided to take her place in the afterlife. He says he did that because he loves her. Then they kiss before a romantic sunset. She wants to know what happens now in the afterlife, and Adam tells her everything happens in the afterlife. They look out at the sunset, and the film comes to an end.